Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have a beer that I'm really quite interested in actually. I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. So for this one we're going to go back up to Landskrona where I work of course, and we're having a taste of another beer from Brygghuset Finn, who you saw me review for the first time in quite a while just a couple of videos ago. And this is a collaboration that they've done with MackMyra, who are one of the 3 Swedish whisky distillers. So this one is called the Bourbon Bock and it's part of Brygghuset Finn's Derailed series. It comes in at 8.7% and this one is a Doppelbock beer aged in MackMyra bourbon barrels. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. I think this one will be an absolute monster of a beer. If you've watched the channel before, you will know that the Doppelbock is one of my favourite German beer styles, and of course I do love a good whisky as well, being Scottish. So as I say, very curious to see how this beer turns out, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. I'll also tell you a little bit about the MackMyra Distillery in this one as well. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do from Brygghuset Finn in the future. I have reviewed 5 or 6 of their beers already. Hopefully I can review some of the MackMyra Distillery's whisky at some point fairly soon too. I've never reviewed anything from those guys. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. There is a playlist there as well for the whisky distilleries too, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and whiskies and stuff like that that you would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brygghuset Finn first off then, onto my brewery notes, and of course I've got the distillery notes for MackMyra as well. So as I've told you many a time, Brygghuset Finn are based in Landskrona, which is kind of halfway between Lund and Helsingborg in Skåne in the southern part of Sweden. But the company was founded by 2 former students of Lund University. This was Peter Lindholm and Simon Flemberg, who studied entrepreneurship, and as part of their course they had to create a plan for a fictitious company, and so they decided to actually plan a brewery there. But Simon was an avid home brewer, and he'd brewed beer during his time in the university corridors and things like that. To the Swedes, the corridors are the equivalent of the university halls of residence, but they lived there with their friend Joachim Larsson, who was a guinea pig for many of their early beers, and he is now the company CEO. But after finishing university they found a perfect location for the brewery behind the old railway station in Landskrona, which isn't too far from the centre of the city itself. But they ordered some custom-made brewing equipment towards the end of 2013, and they produced their first beers for sale in early 2014, and as of 2018 they're brewing around 250,000 litres of beer, but they have plans to produce around 1 million litres of beer per year by 2021. They've been making a lot of strides forward in recent times. And as I told you in the last video that I did from these guys, these derailed beers that they're doing are pretty damn special. There are other beers, you know, to me the main kind of core beers that Brygghuset Finn do, they're kind of like restaurant-y beers, just, you know, something to kind of drink when you're eating something. But these derailed beers are really the proper kind of nerdy craft beers, if you like. So if you get the chance to try some of the beers from this Derailed series, I really recommend that you do. I've tried 2 or 3 of them now, and they've always been pretty good. I've only managed to review 1 for you here on the channel, though the other ones I've tried from friends giving me them, and from pubs and things like that. So yeah, if you get the chance to try some of these beers in particular, have a look at this Derailed series. But Brygghuset Finn, as I say, they've been really upscaling in things recently, and they are a pretty nice little Skånsk beer producer. So have a go at some of their stuff if you get the chance. But yeah, if you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and you can keep up to date with all the latest goings on. But they are becoming more and more prolific the further into their lifespan that they go. So yeah, check them out. So anyway, on to the MackMyra Distillery then. So the history of MackMyra apparently goes back to 1998, when 8 friends who were all students at the King's Technological Institute KTH, as it's called in Stockholm, met up and brought a whisky for their host. But they started discussing the production of a Swedish whisky, and the following year they ended up starting up their own company. Eventually in 2002 they apparently settled on 2 recipes after experimenting for years. They'd apparently experimented with somewhere around 170 different recipes. But that year they also built a distillery in the Old Mill and Power Station in MackMyra Village, which began producing in October of 2002. But they released their first whiskies in February of 2006, and it sold out through the Systembolaget ordering system in under 20 minutes. But apparently they source all of their ingredients from within a 75-mile radius of MackMyra, other than the yeast, which comes from Rotebro near Stockholm. But the peat is from a local bog near Österfärnebro, and the barley comes from Dalarna and the Strunsö Manor in Enköping as well. But they use 4 different types of casks for their whisky. They use bourbon, sherry, Swedish oak, and also some American ex-bourbon casks as well. And normally the whisky is actually matured 50 metres below ground in a disused mine in Hofors as well, which is kind of which is interesting. I've never heard of a whisky being aged in a disused mine. But today they're located near Gävle, and they've got 2 active distilleries. This is the original one, which they opened up back in 2002. This one uses a full-sized pot still from Forsyths and Rothes in Scotland, as well as Swedish stainless steel washbacks and also a German mash tun. And their second one is a little bit newer and more modern. This one's about 6 miles or so to the east of MackMyra Village, which opened up in 2011. It uses 2 full-sized pot stills, and it produces around 1.8 million bottles of whisky per year. And in 2017 they also started making gin at the LAB distillery here in Sweden as well. I read something about them making an affiliate company over in England as well at one point, so it'll be interesting to see if we start to get more of the MackMyra whiskies over in Scotland and stuff like that soon. I haven't actually seen a bottle of MackMyra over in Scotland, but I do hope to be able to review one of those whiskies for you on the channel at some point soon. Hopefully someone has a bottle that they can lend me. As I've said, you know, for my whisky reviews I really rely on people kind of lending me their whisky to take a little bit and review for you. But yeah, MackMyra, I think these guys were the first Swedish whisky distillery, or there was another one there that's kind of gone bust now, but these guys I think are the biggest out of the 3 distilleries that they have in Sweden. Of course there's MackMyra, Bock's Distillery, and also Spirit of Vin, which is very close to Landskrona, where Brygghuset Finn are from. And that's a little bit surprising actually, that they've used a MackMyra whisky to, they've done a collaboration with MackMyra rather than Spirit of Vin. But you know, I'm sure it'll be an awesome beer nonetheless. Just thinking about the locality of these 2 companies, because there is a big distance between both of them. But yeah, really cool to have some encounter with MackMyra for the first time on the channel. And yeah, again, if you want to read a little bit more about these guys, check out their website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and keep up to date with all the latest goings on there. But yeah, let's get rid of the brewery notes and distillery notes for this one then, and let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open up. There you can see, quite similar in style to the one that I had a few weeks back, the raspy wheat that I reviewed from them. Like I said, this one was released through the Systembolaget Små Partiers. I believe it was the 7th of December 2018 that they released this one. There of course is the Brygghuset Finn bottle cap on this one, just checking that the camera is focusing on that. And it says on the side here, Derailed Bourbon Bock is a Doppelbock that was lagered in bourbon barrels that had previously housed the elegant single malt whiskies from MackMyra. The result is a very balanced beer with a little bit of smoky character from both the beer and from the whisky in perfect harmony. So I hope I've translated that properly. But yeah, 8.7% Doppelbock this one, and very curious, like I said, to see how this turns out. I think they've had a few previous iterations of this one. I think last year was the first time it was released, and it said on Untappd that the previous version of this was 8.9%, so this one is a little bit lighter this year. But that's maybe, you know, you will get little things like that where it's not quite the same, just because of the aging processes and lagering processes and stuff like that. But yeah, sure, it'll be an awesome beer. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. As I've told you many a time, the Doppelbock style is one of my absolute favourites. You know, I really got into beer because of the traditional German beers, and I think this one will be an absolute monster. So yeah, you can smell some of these lovely smoky and brown sugary notes coming out of this just as you open it up. But yeah, look at that. This is definitely one of the darkest Doppelbocks that I've come across in a long time. You can see there's a solid finger of a frothy, I would say somewhere between very light beige and kind of, I don't know if that's even quite fawn. I think a light beige is probably a good way to describe the colour of that head. The colour of this one is definitely a very, very dark ruby colour. You can absolutely see that on the camera. I'm just checking the control there. You can see down in this bottom corner there's that little ruby edge to it. If I hold it up to the light, yeah, definitely lovely dark kind of chestnutty ruby mahogany colour, which is not surprising at all for a Doppelbock, although I would say this one is a little bit darker in colour than some of the other ones that I've come across before. Kind of similar actually in colour to some of the Belgian quadruples and things like that that you might come across too, but nothing overly surprising from this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this. I'm very, very curious about this beer, as I've mentioned a couple of times. Ooh. Right. That is a monster. Let's just say it straight away. You probably could get away with aging this beer a little bit. Now, German beer drinkers, from what I understand, wouldn't agree with you there. The Germans want to drink their beer as fresh as they can. The Doppelbock is a German style of beer, of course. You could age this a little bit, and that's probably one of the a little bit of a debate between, you know, traditional beer and craft beer. You know, imperial stouts, quadruples and stuff like that. You can age them a little bit. But for me, this is just a lovely, lovely smelling beer, and I think, you know, 8.7%. You could age it a little bit, but you wouldn't want to age it for all that long. Maybe about a year or so you could get away with. But the point is, the Doppelbock for me, I've had one or two that have been aged a little bit, and they do get a little bit sweeter right enough, but they're always very, very good fresh. With stouts and things like that, it's not, the aging process can make a considerable difference to a barley wine or a stout, and even quads, and maybe not so much the trip ale right enough, but those three beer styles, with the Doppelbock, for me, in my experience, it doesn't make all that much of a difference to it. So yeah, I would say drink this one when you get it, but in terms of the aroma, this is a monster. I mean, you can definitely smell that nice whisky malt base to it, or those whisky aging characteristics. It's got a little bit of a smoky note to it. It's definitely peaty as well. It's not like the German kind of Rauch malts, if you like. The German Rauch malts, as I've always said, are a little bit more kind of meaty, whereas the Scottish peaty malts are a little bit more earthy, sometimes a little touch grassy as well. But yeah, lovely kind of brown sugar note to this one as well. It's got a little bit of that treacle molasses kind of quality to it as well, a little bit of a sweeter caramel, and almost a little bit of a kind of toasty note in there also. Some woody notes as well, a little bit of an oaky woodiness to this one, maybe even a wee bit of vanilla or something like that, but the roasty, the nice smoky roasty notes in this one are coming out nicely. I got a little whiff of something in there that maybe makes me wonder if there is a little touch of German Rauch malt in there, and that wouldn't be surprising considering it is a German beer. Maybe they're using a little bit of Scotch malt and German malt in there. We can maybe figure it out from the flavour right enough. But yeah, a little bit of red fruit in there as well, some kind of figgy notes. It's not got any of the raisiny or plummy sharpness that you might expect. But yeah, lovely little mix of kind of red fruity character as well. Everything in this beer goes together really quite nicely. You can also pick up some of these German noble hop qualities, a little bit of a lighter earthiness, and also some nice kind of red fruity notes as well. But overall, very, very nice smelling beer, and I like how everything is going together in this one. Just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into this one. But I think it's going to be really quite special actually. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this. Basically a barrel aged Doppelbock beer, this one. So let's get stuck into it. So just to give it its fully correct name, this one is the Bourbon Bock, the Derailed Bourbon Bock from Brygghuset Finn in Landskrona here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. A collaboration beer with MackMyra Svensk Whisky from just outside of Gävle to the north of Stockholm in Sweden as well. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. that, I'll just say straight away, big thumbs up on this one. This is a really damn good beer actually. If you get the chance to try this, have a go at it. You know, if you like the likes of Schlenkerla things, if you like the likes of the Eyinger Celebrator, the Paulaner Salvator, Weihenstephan or Corbinian, if you like these big sort of Bavarian Doppelbocks, you are going to enjoy this beer. It actually reminds me a little bit of the Schlenkerla Eiche, the Christmas Doppelbock that they do. But yeah, that's a really good beer. So let's try and break this down a little bit then. So in the middle of your palate you can feel there's this little bit of a kind of brown bready quality that just blankets the middle of your tongue there. This beer definitely has a little bit of that German smoothness to it, and I like that MackMyra and Brygghuset Finn have managed to capture that, I feel like, because it's one of the really distinctive features of German beer is what I call the Brauhaus smoothness. I've always found German beers to be very, very smooth, but you can feel that lovely brown bready quality just blanketing the middle of your palate there. And as you go further and further into the aftertaste, it becomes a little bit more kind of grainy and things like that. When you come further forward on the front of your tongue, you start to get some of these woody notes, which will be from the kind of the barrel aging side of things, and the peaty notes, that peaty smoke that's in this beer really does, it's almost just like the brown bread and the woody notes are just kind of infused with that little bit of a smoky flavour. I like how that's kind of coming out, and it's almost as well like the middle of your palate is just drying out slightly the further into the flavour of this beer that you go. Yeah, I really like how everything is going together in this one. It's a really nicely done beer. This one, it's got everything you would expect of a regular Doppelbock, but then I guess the aging process or whatever that they've put this one through has just given it a little bit more of that that complexity. So yeah, just be aware of this one. For me, a lot of people tell me they get some chocolatey flavours from Doppelbocks. I've never really found that. To me, this one's all about brown sugar. In the middle of your palate, there's definitely a bit of a darker treacle molasses sort of thing, that more syrupy brown sugar in there. Right in the centre too, it's got a little bit of a slightly sweeter note to it also, which I really like, and you can feel that right in the centre of your palate. That's covering the boozy aspect of this beer really nicely, and again, as you go further out from the centre of your tongue, it becomes a little bit more biscuity. It reminds me of some of these McVitie's digestive biscuits that I always talk about, but then again, the smoky flavours, that peaty smoky quality that this beer has, it's almost pushing that down a little bit. It really is kind of just making that a little bit more, what's the word, it's just almost oppressing that a little bit, just pushing that back into the background. But like I say, there's a whole host of things going on in this beer, so just pay attention to it and see how you get on. Yeah, this, as I say, you know, this is a special beer. It's very unusual as well, so just have a go at this if you get the chance. It's kind of cool that it's a winter seasonal. It really does suit the fact that it's a winter beer, but at the same time, with the quality of this beer, it is a shame that it's not something that they do a little bit more regularly. So on the hoppy side of things then, like I was saying, from the aroma, you can pick up some of these German noble hop elements. It's got a little bit of that slightly sweet earthiness in the back corners of the palate. As you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, it just smooths out a little bit. There's a little touch of a slightly more kind of floral note in the front corners of your palate too, and then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy, and behind the front curve of your palate, that's where you get those nice juicy fruity esters coming out of that oily bubble there, which is good. And yeah, the fruity notes in this one are quite interesting. It's quite a dark fruity character that's in there. It has a little bit of a it's not. There is a little tiny touch of an almost kind of phenol medicinal quality to this one, but that's very, very minimal. For me, it's not got the sharpness of raisins or plums. It's almost a little bit more like a kind of alcoholic cake or something like that. I don't know if you could say like dates is maybe a good descriptor for the fruity notes that you're getting out of this, but there's definitely a little bit of a kind of more figgy note there, and the further into the aftertaste you go, you start to get a little bit more of a kind of candied fruity ester out of this one, like a sort of candied strawberry or something like that. But I really like how all of these different flavours go together in this beer. It's very, very well done, and it's one of these kind of classic barrel aged things. I'm also noticing that the further into this beer that I go, a little bit more of the woody character is coming out of this one, a little bit more of that oaky note. There's almost even a little touch of vanilla the further into the aftertaste you go, and then right in the centre of the palate, you know, if you come forward from that sort of that sweeter centre that I was talking about, and just move a little bit forward, there's almost a little bit of a kind of slightly nutty complexity coming out of this one as well, which is very, very nice. But yeah, basically to sum this one up, it's a really nice Doppelbock. It's got a little bit of that, you know, sort of Scottish peaty smokiness to it. The smoky character in this one is most definitely that slightly earthier peaty note compared to the German more meaty Rauch malts that I was talking about. That, you know, and as I said, in the aroma you can detect a little bit of both, but the flavour really tells you. I think it's more of a Scottish smoky quality that's coming out of this one rather than a German smoky quality. But lovely, lovely beer, and that of course is the main point. It's got a lovely bit of complexity there that will keep you interested if you are a little bit of a beer nerd like myself. In terms of the mouthfeel then, this one, full bodied beer, I don't think there's much debate about that, to be honest. Carbonation's very, very smooth. Yeah, the mouthfeel overall, nice and oily, but it does have a little touch of wetness to it as well. Little bit of hoppy bitterness in there. By no means is this beer going to blow the head off you in terms of IBUs, though. It's going to be around, I think 30 is probably even generous for this beer in terms of its IBUs. Good balance in the malt base between the slightly more smoky notes, a little bit of the graininess and sweetness. There's a hell of a lot going on in the malt base of this one, with all those flavours kind of infusing together. The hops, like I said, are quite smooth, but a little touch of bitterness there, and there's some nice juicy fruity elements to this beer as well. But overall, as I said, it's just a very, very nicely done Doppelbock. It's a style that I really enjoy, so it's a beer that pretty much has kind of ticked all the boxes for me. So have a go at this one for yourself. It's quite unique. You know, it's a Swedish take on a Doppelbock. It's probably the best Doppelbock that I've reviewed from Sweden, actually. I've reviewed a couple of them, but this one I think probably is the best one that I've reviewed from Sweden so far. So that's a challenge to the other craft brewers out there in Sweden. But lovely, lovely beer, like I said. It's a style that I very much enjoy, and I have enjoyed this particular interpretation of it. So yeah, I think that's a good place to leave this review. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this beer, have a go at it for yourself. This one is the Derailed Bourbon Bock, a collaboration beer between Brygghuset Finn from Landskrona here in Skåne in the south of Sweden, and the MackMyra Svensk Whisky Distillery up near Gävle to the north of Stockholm. Just a lovely, lovely beer, this, with a hell of a lot going on. If you love the Doppelbock style and you like barrel aging and things, I think this is one that you're definitely going to enjoy. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brygghuset Finn, of course. Do let me know what whisky I should review from MackMyra Distillery as well. I know they've got a few different things, and that's something that I really do need to do as part of my malt reviews. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media and have a go at this beer if you get the chance, and try some other beers from Brygghuset Finn and some of the MackMyra whiskies as well. So until the next time, it's Landskrona just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Skål. Make sure you try the Bourbon Bock.